People were getting more and more aware of the whole civil rights movement, the terrible injustices that had been there right along, certainly. And I think maybe Kennedy's death in that November sort of heightened everybody's awareness and emotional feelings. Henry Bird, who was the minister at Grace Episcopal Church, had gotten very involved in the whole civil rights movement. And he went with a group from Boston that included Paul Chapman and some other people. And Henry Bird arranged for a group from Williamston to come up here right after Christmas. A whole bunch of some adults and a group of children that lived there and teenagers, and they came up and there was a big meeting and they sang freedom songs. And most of these people were sort of veterans of a battle that was going on in Williamston. It was a very ugly situation down there, a lot of violence. And there was an organizer down there, a black man named Golden Frinks, and he was working with the SCLC under Dr. King. They had this boycott, so we began to collect canned goods and things like that to send down to support them in their boycott. And the high school kids began to have can dances, where everybody had to bring, for admission, would bring some cans of food to be sent down to Williamston. How were we to get it down there? And at some point, we just decided, well, we'll stick it in a car and drive it down. There were 5 of us, my sister Nancy Smith, and me, and Nancy Whiting, Peggy Lilienthal, and Virginia Mazer. We ended up taking 2 cars and, all the canned goods and clothes and things and taking them down. Well, we got down there and there was a woman named Sarah Small who had come up to the Vineyard and had spoken and had won all our hearts. And we went to her house, and eventually Golden Frinks came over, and I remember he came in, and we had decided we should go down as ladies. I mean, no jeans, we all had hats and gloves, very alien to the way we lived here, but we thought this is how we should do it. So he came in and said, ladies. He said, I haven't had any ladies before. And what was the best way to use us? And really, we were there to be used. And that day, they sent us out on voter registration work. We did that, I guess, while they were deciding what would be the best use of us. And he asked us how we felt about going to jail. It was decided that we should picket the local Sears and Roebuck store, which refused to hire any blacks. We all went. They had made placards for us that Sears discriminated, and we went out and walked around in front of the store, and the police arrived. What we were arrested on technically was picketing without a permit. I think it was the first time I experienced this. The whites walking by looked at us with real hate. And I'm sure people had disliked me from time to time, but I'd never experienced hate like that. And the police took us to the jail. And when we got to the jail, the sheriff there, he just seemed beside himself with rage. What were we doing down there, And I was frightened. I mean, he seemed so obsessed that he was frightening, really. You felt he could do anything. And we got bailed out by our assorted husbands at home. Came out the next afternoon with a group of black people waiting to greet us, and we had a lovely dinner that they had prepared for us. And then we left by a sort of back way. But I think it had a profound impact on all of us. I think we all felt very humble. We came back to a very safe environment, leaving our friends in an environment that wasn't safe. I think there were, at that time, quite a lot of people who felt that we had no business going down there. Yes, it seems to me there were some letters written to the Gazette that were not approving. Well, it just seemed very logical at the time. I mean, a sort of putting our money where our mouth was, And here we weren't living in a Not to say there wasn't discrimination here, because there was and is, but not the kind of frightening thing that there was in the South, you know. A term that was used a lot at that time was bearing witness, and I think we did this. But I think we all have a feeling of gratitude that we did this, you know, that we saw what we saw and that we did go down. It meant a lot.